Welcome to the first day of Project Pack number 12. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria, and we are going to use pretty much all of the parts that are in the Zentangle packet today on this particular tile.
And you can check the intro video for all of the descriptions of those.
Right. So you can see I'm checking out the gold gouache. Gouache is Gouache, and it's a type of watercolor that I love to use. And
It looks like you added a little water to that.
I added a little water to mine, yeah. So we have a beautiful Renaissance Zentangle, and we're going to start with our graphite pencil and draw a circle sort of in the middle, but it's really not important that it's exactly in the middle. Just a beautiful circle.
I love how you go back and just retouch those lines.
Thank you. We're going to work with the concept of Bronx cheer, but not a Bronx cheer. I came up with this new variation of Bronx cheer, and we're calling them Bronx spears, S-P-E-A-R-S, Bronx spears. And I've been doing these for a while now. The first time I did it was on the silk scarf that we sell. You know that one?
Right.
And it was from that German artist. What was his name?
Ernst Haeckel.
Ernst Haeckel's artwork. I saw something similar to this, and I thought, oh, that's beautiful. So you can see I started with just a beautiful line that just is ever so slightly arced. And we're going to start by putting a series of like pearl shapes that gradually get smaller and smaller until they disappear or disappear.
Disappear.
Yeah, at the end, right here, you can see.
And also notice that all of those little pearls, the lines overlap that center line and each other for that matter.
Right. So I'm going to go on the other side and do exactly the same kind of consecutive circles or orbs, pearls, whatever you like thinking about like that. And you can see how they gradually get a little bit smaller. And please remember that you can always pause our teaching here to catch up. We don't often show the entire drawing of something so simple. So feel free to stop anytime.
Next time I go to a Chinese restaurant, I'm going to think of those little corns.
Yes.
Those
just little
like that,
tiny
right?
ears of corn. That's it. Sort of, yeah.
Right?
That's what it looks like.
I'm going to think of look at the yellow Bronx spears.
Okay, so now this is kind of cool. If you put the stem in, and then after the stem is drawn in, then you go back. I like to add a little detail just because I can. Now watch this. This is going to, you put a few more of these little pearls around the stem, and it makes the stem look like it's coming forward, going through the center a little bit more than ordinarily. So it's just a nice little detail. So I'm going to put another one behind the first Bronx spear.
Again, using that familiar hollowball approach of drawing behind.
Right.
So drawing behind can be a whole tangle just as much as it can be an individual stroke.
So what makes this a little different than Bronx cheer is the fact that these little orbs sort of get smaller as we go up. And embrace that. Embrace it because it'll bring you more of a meditation. I think the more you have to concentrate and add a little detail to something, that it helps you to focus.
The weighting of the line is such an impact there.
So there I'm putting that little detail again. Such a small thing, but it just looks amazing, right? Here I'm going to go off to the side. can almost hear my brain whirling when I'm drawing.
Well, I love the rhythm, and I love how as they, the orbs go off to the side, they also get a little smaller so that you get that sense of dimension
Right.
even as you do it.
Yeah.
So they're more like ovals on the side.
Sometimes I just make the thing longer if my little orbs weren't getting small enough. Because I can, right?
Right?
Here we go. There's the stem. One doesn't know really how big a stem is on a Bronx spear, so you can make it whatever
Right.
size you want.
They're actually,
right?
I think they're large like that because they have to hold up the whole weight of the spear.
Right?
So
Especially for Chinese food, right?
right,
Or,
it would-
or Thai food,
Or
right?
yeah.
So we're going to go back in and darken these, leaving that highlight like we do on the Bronx cheer. And this is a kind of a nice, relaxing thing to do. You've already done all your drawing. And again, this has the same potential as a Bronx cheer.
Right, you
In
can,
case you ever have a misstep or a misdrawn line, these things are magic, just like
or you just want to make a mystery.
a mystery. Yes, what is behind that
Right.
Bronx spear? The mystery of the Bronx cheer.
Yeah.
That should be like an Agatha Christie book,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. And also notice that Maria's not rushing through this. She's like really, really enjoying, like, this is the most beautiful set of little circles that I can fill here, and just absolutely reveling in it.
So the whole idea of these Renaissance tiles came about because I always loved working on a mid-tone paper. And the artists, like Da Vinci and Michelangelo, their drawings, when I would study them, they would always be on a toned paper, either a gray or tan, and they'd work in these gorgeous browns and red chalks that were just so gorgeous. And they would also work with white chalk and black, and so that they could come up with a lot of the shading that they would need as, in researching for their paintings.
So on the same, and when we first came out with our first tile, it was a white tile, so you could only make it darker.
Right.
And then we came out with the black tile, and you could only make it lighter.
Right.
So this gives you this mid-tone gives you the option of adding light and adding dark. So it's a beautiful platform.
So what I wanted to add to that too is that whenever it's my go-to tile is a
Renaissance.
Renaissance Zentangle. I immediately get into that mode of, here I am in the 1400s, and I'm feeling that artistic gift. I might not be as good as Da Vinci, but boy, I feel like I am.
You're tapping into
I'm
that.
tapping into that, and I'm feeling like I am the artist of the town, and that it's my job to do this, and this is my job, right?
Right.
How cool is that?
And so just that repetitive setting of those lovely, lovely highlight beads or nodes, and it shows its own pattern there. And you can add more in.
I think that you're all going to really enjoy doing these.
Okay, so once we get those done,
Yeah. Add a little love.
go
Go
back.
back, yeah. They look like they would taste as good as
Right.
as a blackberry, right? Oh, I'm gonna.
Except the taste lasts longer.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we're going to do some background design in back here. And it's going to be a fragment and reticula type thing. And I'm going to start by putting one curve in. You can see how I sort of put that behind the Bronx spears. And again, they're going to go consecutive So they start out really tiny squares at the bottom, and as they get to the top, they'll be bigger. So I'm sort of giving myself lines to shoot to. Can you see?
And I think you're using your brown pen.
I
on
am
this,
using
right?
my brown pen. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. So each aura is going to be just slightly larger than the one before it. But you know, when all is said and done, don't worry about that too much. It actually doesn't matter too much as long as they get bigger towards the top.
It's precisely imprecise.
Right, right. But you can also, you'll all already see the optical illusion coming to life here.
Like somebody planted it way too deep in the pot.
Yeah. So we're going to fill these auras with beautiful orbs, kind of retracing the steps of the Bronx Spear, and see how this works for us. Ordinarily, you wouldn't think doing something like that, but I had tried it on a couple of different pieces, and I liked what it looked like.
Well, I like the resonance of that same shape at a different scale and color.
So you can see that I'm sort of trying to keep them in line. Like you look at one and then you put the next row right below that.
Neat. It's fun figuring out where they would be behind, right, as it goes behind.
So you can see what's happening here, and we're going to go and do the top one's exactly the same. I started in the middle because by starting in the middle, it gives you more of a sense of spacing than starting at the bottom in the tiny ones.
Right.
I actually use that technique often.
Well, and it also helps that in Zentangle there is no up and down, and you can just, or you're more particularly in this case, your tile is not locked to an easel, so you can just flip it, whatever's comfortable. And, you know, we say this probably in every video, but notice how Maria is turning that tile as she works, just that, finding that really comfortable place.
So I'm going in now and putting in some nice brown darkness in between those orbs. Give it some character and pattern. And just the brown is so beautiful. I like to use dark brown as much as I can. I just love that reddish, it's like sanguine color.
And in doing that, you've lost the grid lines have just dissolved into that pattern.
So now I'm going in and retracing that original circle. And you can see I kind of make it kind of bumpy on purpose so that it doesn't look like you're trying to make a perfect circle. It's a beautiful line as opposed to something drawn with a compass. I'm not a big compass fan unless I'm, you know, designing something or, you know.
Well, it's that, you know, a lot of people will talk about that Japanese concept of wabi-sabi.
Yeah.
And there's such a beauty in that natural roughness, that unpolished, perfect imperfection.
So I'm going around with an aura, good size space in between here. We're going to do a series of borders around here. I'm just such a border person, and you probably have recognized that in a lot of my work. I find a lot of comfort in that.
So the unevenness of that line is just so beautiful and just so delicate.
So you can see they're not perfect lines, but it gives you time, by stopping and going, it gives you time to think and analyze and...
So you can see she's creating this radiating spoke sort of pillar from the center.
So I do this, automatically, but I'm going to the base of this. So you can see that's what I was pointing to. It was the center of the circle, so that you have the radiating lines sort of level with the way you're holding the tile.
And I love that slight flare at the beginning and end.
Yeah, almost like a capital I, right? Like a Roman...
Slightly serifed.
Right. It just gives it character. And I've been adding these little details. It gives it sort of like a carved or etched or engraved look. Could be a linoleum cut, or that kind of look.
Sort of a woodcut, yeah.
Yeah, woodcut.
And I like the resonance of that on these, like whatever these like pillars or capitals with the same element in the stem there.
And adding some rounding as I go along.
Just enhances the light and dark. And not much, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting, right?
Did you remember?
It's been a while. So it's sort of like giving it a little mushroom cap top. And then, again, a line going towards the center. That's kind of neat, right?
Yeah, and I think this is like a really good thing to just note that, like, this is an example of, I'm guessing Maria did not plan exactly that she was going to do this, but just at the moment of inspiration, okay, well, this would look nice. And then repeating it in that repetition, it becomes this pattern. And it's an arc and an aura.
So in these new little squares here, I'm going to put in some diagonals. Sort of makes them into an N, right? An N shape. Pretty, huh? Look, it's almost like it's support beams, right?
Triangulating. Turning the tile each time.
So my hand is basically in the same spot all the time, doing the same stroke.
Nice. Or it's a Z.
It could be a Z, but it's not for long.
Becomes an hourglass or an X. Yes.
X. So we're going to do in a hollabaugh fashion, we're going to go in the other direction, going behind that first diagonal, and adding a little more support, struts, right?
Excellent.
All things that are fairly simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just how you put it together, right?
It's looking nice.
So we're going to add some pretty aggressive shading with the graphite pencil, and what we want it to be really dark down where these Bronx spears are growing out of. It's almost like they were coming through a sidewalk crack. You know, that feeling of they're growing where they're not supposed to. I love that. I love when plants just, give a Bronx cheer and say, "Oh yeah, here I come."
And particularly after you try to grow something and it doesn't take it.
Yes, you do everything you can to get it to grow, and it won't. And yet these things will come out of the earth in between two pieces
Well,
of
it's like
concrete.
the poke root in our front yard and my
Yeah.
attempts at sunflowers.
Yes. So you can see now that it's starting to. You could use a tortillon there, but my tendency is to just use whatever is closest at hand.
Literally,
hand.
which is your hand. Well, particularly on a really large space like
Right.
that. So it's this great optical illusion. Is it a ball or is it a
Yeah, is it going in?
Is it going in or out?
In or out?
Yeah.
Again, I'm adding, being even more aggressive. I want that to be really going behind the spears.
Well, and when you use your finger or the tortillon, it reduces the contrast.
Right.
So a lot of times we'll go back in just with the graphite and reassert that contrast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's coming to life.
Yes.
So even though that these Bronx cheers are pretty dark already, I'm just putting a little bit of shade on one side, on the right side. It's subtle, but all of these things together.
Well, and it tricks the eye.
Right.
You get the sense of depth, but may not know exactly why.
So now I'm going in with this beautiful brown charcoal pencil just to soften the color from black to brown.
Nice.
And then with the brown tortillon, we're going to just soften that a little more.
And we use this word with the tortillon, is you're inviting the graphite or the chalk into the paper. You're not pushing it in, you're sort of inviting it in.
So we're going to do a little coloring in. I'm testing it and see what it looks like. Putting some brown behind these support struts there, just to give it an all-over texture color. So these, your pencil and your colored pencils and stuff, they can be used as shading or as texture, or as adding color, as opposed to doing it with a light source.
Right. And again, using the tortillon just sort of evens out and smooths it into the fibers of the paper.
Mm-hmm. So we have that white Jelly Roll pen that's beautiful. I'm going in and sort of touching up the highlights, those beautiful highlights. But I'm not doing it on every one. I'm doing them really where the light is coming through.
Sort of on the left, yeah. That really makes a difference.
Right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it just brightens it a little, and we have these tools at our disposal. We might as well use them, right? And just giving it a little bit of brightness on one side here.
Yeah, the white shines so much on this paper.
So I'm mixing my paint, and I don't know if you can see my hand. I twirl my brush as I'm adding. Can you see my twirling my brush? And yes, like that. Always do it in the same direction so that your point stays alive and crisp, and it'll do your bidding for you. If you always go in the same direction, you don't want to twist it one way and then the other. That it always twists the same way.
So why are you using the the caps? You're like mixing in.
I'm finding where I want to, how much paint I want to have, I'm going to use a pretty aggressive color this time, and I'm just showing people how to turn their paintbrushes. These are pretty good brushes, and they can hold a nice point, and you can do some detail work with them. So you can see I put my paint down first in the center, and then go around.
Always with the point to the edge.
Yeah.
Or the.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
And we're going to paint those all around. Remembering when you load the brush to twist your brush.
It really looks nice in the light there.
Yeah.
And as with putting down a lot of ink, remember that that this will be wet for a little while, so
Right.
to not touch it while you're doing it. Nice. So let that dry for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to go in with the gold and hit those little details in the brown beads. And it's just a subtle thing, but it brings that to life as well. It gives it almost a jewel-like feel. You'll see it better in person than on the film here, but it really just sparkles. And you can see I'm just touching them. You don't have to create that. The paint will create that. It just touch it ever so lightly.
It's because you get that nice sharp point there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying your new chop.
So this is the Bronx Spear. I hope you have fun with this. Do them over and over and over again. Practice them, and see where it takes you. I love this.
So we will see you tomorrow. Thank you for playing with us. Bye now.
See you later.